Hello there, sunshines. This week is going to be a very simple video. I just moved. If you saw my previous shorts, for those of you who are subscribed, who are getting my notifications here on YouTube, I moved. Not far, still in Florida. I'm not moving out of state, and God willing, never again move out of state. So with that in mind, with my move in mind, I'm not settled here yet. Moving is a bittersweet process for us, so I wanted to keep this video very simple. I haven't had my hair down in quite a bit, so I decided to style my hair with a few products that I do have. Obviously, of course, I brought my own products, and these are the ones that I left exposed out at access in the house. I'm going to be using only the leave-in today to style my hair. And while I do that, I'm going to be answering a ton of your most common questions. I'm going to get as many of them in, the ones that really stand out to me. Okay, so I just got a little bit of product on my hand here from my leave-in, and I'm going to start with the first and obvious question: why do I move so often? So I'll give you guys the simplest answer. We are not owners of anything, we're renters. And the reason why I'm not there with the mentality of owning at this moment in my life, I'm not in a rush to be a homeowner or to settle in one place at this point in my life. I understand there's benefits to it. There's pros and cons to both. Owning a home, and renting, and having a certain amount of freedom comes along with the idea, especially in today's time, to be able to up and go, because it depends on your lifestyle, right? For us, our priority is thinking as a parent and thinking in terms of my children's well-being, where we want to keep them for a long period of time. On top of that, to remove some of that concern, our kids homeschool and they do various activities outside of the home as well to have a good balance. That in itself allows us to be able to move around and do the things that we need to do with our son, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, for those of you who know my story. So when we began moving, it was in 2014 when we first found out about our son's autism and started learning that New York wasn't the best place for him. It wasn't the best environment for him, as well as having better resources and the type of things that we were interested in doing to help his symptoms and manage his symptoms. New York was not looking like the place to do that at the time. So we up and left to California, not knowing if we would like it there or if we would stay there forever. We didn't know. This was our first time ever leaving New York and living anywhere else outside of New York. So we were in California in 2015 for a year. Within 4 months of living in California, less than 4 months, we knew that that was not going to be the place where we stayed. And we didn't go there with that intention. We didn't go there to move somewhere and stay, because I don't think there's any way you can know that until you live somewhere, unless you've done a lot of research on that state in particular, and the values of the state, the government laws align with things that you care about. I mean, that's the only possibility I see of you having the chance of staying there forever. But coming from the New York mentality that people are stuck there, once you're from New York, you kind of like stay there forever type of mentality. It's a very limiting mentality. It can be an unhealthy mentality, because if you are called to be better somewhere else, you may reject prioritizing the well-being overall, the right thing to do, over being patriotic and staying in a place that isn't necessarily serving you, especially when you're a parent. So we moved to California, did not like it, to put it simply, stayed there only a year, and moved back to New York, but never New York City again. We moved upstate New York to create a certain balance, and when we moved back to New York, we stayed there with the idea that we would try to figure out a safer place in the future that we could move to and possibly stay. But we knew that at that time, we didn't know what that place was. So that is where our research began on learning about politics, learning about laws, and the parental freedom that we so much valued. So we basically stood in the New York, New Jersey area as renters. Then when I had my daughter, it was another reason why we should move to a smaller and more affordable apartment, which made my life a lot easier with now having a child. So that was our reason for moving again while we were in New York, because at the same time, we wanted to save money for a bigger move, because by that point, we already discovered Texas was looking like the best place for us as a family. And I still believe Texas is an amazing place. I highly recommend it. And when we moved to Texas in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, we really thought that we would stay there, like for good. Like, this is our place. This is where were gonna be. But obviously we went there as renters because one, I have never been to Austin, Texas. I have never been to Texas in general at all. The smart thing to do is to get there first, live there for a while, and get to know the environment. So we were there for about 2.5 years. We moved at the beginning of the pandemic, which was a blessing because we were already planning to move there, had it in mind to move there before the pandemic, obviously, but it worked out right at the right time for us to be able to get out of New York and have the freedom and the lifestyle that we were seeking by leaving New York and going to Texas. So it worked out because of God. We answer to God, we consult with God when making these decisions. But while we were in Texas, given that the pandemic has already started, YouTube changed, my social media presence changed, a lot changed along with the pandemic. Views have gone down. My work was no longer the same. My work online was a big main income for us. So basically we needed to find a better solution to all of this because everything being so expensive, the economy changing, my work on top of that changing, it created this inconsistency that brought so much inconvenience to our life. And it became hard to do what I do. So long story short, my husband reached out to his contacts and was offered a blessing of a job, which happened to be in Florida, and it required moving to Florida. So even though Florida was not necessarily in our plans, it was something that had to happen for the well-being of our family in general. So we took that opportunity and here we are. And like I said, it wasn't in our plans to move from Texas. But when things happen, you gotta do what you gotta do, and you can't hold your emotions to one place and allow it to stop you from progress. When we moved to California from New York, I have absolutely no family in California. I have absolutely no family anywhere except for New York and Florida. And Florida was never an option for me before because I don't make decisions on where we're gonna move based on how much family or who we know there. We make the decisions on where we're gonna move based on our rights as parents, what that state allows us to do and what it doesn't allow us to do, looking at those pros and cons, and the value that we have for homeschooling and parental rights. So to give you a good rundown, we went from being raised in New York to living in California for 1 year, going back to New York area, and staying there for 5 years. And then from there, moving to Texas, being in Texas for 2 years and some change, and then moving to Florida exactly a year ago. And our lease in our apartment where we recently were here in Florida is up. It was only a 1-year lease. And that was our first apartment, our introduction to Florida. It was a 2-hour drive away from my husband's work where he needs to be in that specific area. For our last few months in that apartment, we were obviously in search to move closer, to have an apartment home closer to where he needs to be in work. So that is why we moved to Miami. It's a much more convenient place, and it actually, again, worked out amazingly because not only are we in an apartment that's less expensive than our other one, but also bigger. We are much more comfortable here, and we love this area in Miami a lot more. And the biggest reason, my husband is closer to work, so he can literally be at work and come home in less than 15 minutes instead of 2 hours. I hope that answers the moving question. I'm gonna dry my hair and come back and answer a few more that I got on Instagram. But I'm gonna be drying my hair with no diffuser. This is my Dyson diffuser. I don't know where it is. I eventually will find it, but I don't know where the attachment is. I have no choice but to dry it without a diffuser. Okay. I just want to say, you never truly know how necessary a diffuser attachment is until you dry your hair without one. It looks very different. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just my curls are defined differently. I didn't trust drying my hair 100% without a diffuser, so I just dried it a little bit. By the way, my leave-in has flaxseed, which gives some light hold. For me, it doesn't give much hold, but then I also know that there's other people that use it and they're like, yeah, it gives me a good amount of hold. And everyone says something different. Some people say that it doesn't give them any hold, which is the side that I'm more in, and others say that it gives them enough hold where they actually have a cast and they break the cast with their hands after they dry, which is why I like to use it along with a gel or a hairspray of some kind. But you don't have to. Not everyone has to. Okay, my light is going away, so let's try to answer a couple more questions that I have on here. You're not vegan anymore. I was never vegan. And I always think that whenever someone asks that nowadays, it's like either you have not seen my content in over 8 years, or it's the assumption that people who value natural products and clean ingredients are automatically vegan. It's the idea that veganism is like some type of superior diet. I was never vegan, but I was vegetarian. I was vegetarian for almost 2 years, and the last time I was a vegetarian was New Year 2014. Do you get tired of moving so often? I had 2 big moves within 1 year, and it was a lot. Yeah, 2 moves in 1 year, whether you're moving in the same state or out of state, that is a lot. Because you don't know how much stuff you have until you move. And to gather all of your stuff from one place to another, it takes me at least a couple months to fully settle into a place. So it is not ideal to move to 2 places within the same year. The shortest amount of time that I've moved was a year of being in a place. I will be there for a year because we always sign a 1-year lease and we never break our lease. But I do get tired of moving, especially when I'm in a place that I like. Like when I was in New Jersey, I did not want to move. I really wanted, that was my favorite place. When we were in Jersey, the building, the apartment was my favorite ever, and I did not want to move from there. Our move from there was out of necessity, not out of want. We were there for 2 years. There were just other priorities in mind that required us to move. 1 being the pandemic, and 2, the progress that we wanted to make with our children, especially our son, who is now older and was diagnosed with autism at 3, and we're still on a journey with him. We will always be on a journey with him. How do you balance social media work without showing too much of your private life? I think the best answer to that one is basically being in communication with your spouse, with your partner, with your husband, wife, whatever the case may be. Having a united household, a household with good communication so that you both know what each one needs and you both are in your best roles in that relationship. That's one. That's like at the top. Prioritizing yourself as a wife. In my case, it's myself as a wife and a mother above anything that I have to do here on social media or online. That is secondary to me, not number 1. Because social media can go away. My life online is not my life. My life here at home is my true life. Because what I show online are 1% of a part of me, 1% of what I do. And I love doing it, but I can't put it above my actual life, being my family, the priority here. When I'm no longer here on earth, when I pass away, what I'm gonna leave behind is my family, not necessarily the things I do here online, because this was a small portion of it. This was something I did, not something that I am. So I think it starts with that mentality, to have that balance. Doesn't mean that I'm perfect at it, but this is what I try and this is what I do that helps me. And then along with that question, not showing too much of your personal life, that is a personal choice. You kind of adapt to what you can and can't show, and I don't go off of the standards of what everybody else is doing. There's a lot of people doing things out there, and just because you see it happening so often on Instagram, on TikTok, on social media in general, it doesn't mean that you should do it too. And you have to catch yourself, communicate with your partner so you can check each other on what we should and shouldn't put out there. In my case, it's children. Which goes with another question that someone asked. What made you stop showing your kiddos? Now that mine aren't babies, I'm wrestling through. I think that's a key way of asking it, because when my kids were babies, I didn't necessarily think about not showing him online. But now that he's older and I have 2 children and a daughter, I think it's very important to protect your children from the online world, because the online world opens up a lot of doors, but for children, it can open up a lot of evil, ill-intent doors and expose them to people and things that could harm them for life. One of them being a big topic in today is child trafficking. And I know this word might not be allowed on here, but it ends in philia. And there's a lot of information out there on this. There's a movie out actually right now called The Sound of Freedom. I have not watched it myself, but my husband has watched it twice and I've been meaning to watch it. I really want to see it. And he also watched this other movie called God is a Bullet, which is on the same topic. It's just a lot more intense. I saw the God is a Bullet one, and halfway through I was like, you know what? I can't watch it. I can't see this. So how about I'm gonna go to sleep, you watch it, and you tell me everything that happened tomorrow, and you tell me the ending, because I prefer to hear it at this point than watch it. It was too much for me, but I love the topic and I love the information. And my choice in not showing my kids anymore is for that reason, number 1. And knowing that these people, these evil people, they are seeking access to our children through online. And we are, without knowing, a lot of parents without knowing are giving that access, but they don't know. They're not doing it with that intention, obviously. We have to admit that As much as there's a lot of good online, there's also bad, and we have to acknowledge both. Do you miss New York City and plan to move back? No. It's not that I miss New York City, it's that I miss the people there and the experiences I've had with the people there. It's the people that I miss, not the city. I mean, and I guess the city is a part of that experience. The weather, I don't miss it. I miss certain views that are significant to me, my upbringing, my relationship with my husband, where we met. Those type of things I miss, but will I ever move back? No, I don't see myself moving back because I don't see New York City as my home anymore. I did when I was younger, I did when I was single, I did when I didn't have children, but now as a married woman, as a mother, I don't see it as a home. Have you ever had your nose done? I have not. I don't know why, but I have been getting that question quite a bit. There was a point in my life where I did want a cosmetic surgery when I was younger, and I'm glad that I didn't do that. I actually have a video on cosmetic surgery on my channel. It's not that I have something against people doing it, it's more that doing it makes us vulnerable to a certain mentality that's really hard to get out of, and the addiction that comes along with it, and the neglect to view ourselves, view our true natural selves above the way we feel society is dictating that we should look. Because I value staying natural, and because I value ingredients and chemicals not being in my body, and because I value focusing on loving myself no matter what I look like instead of changing myself from what I was born to look like. This is why I love my curly hair. This is why I love my skin color. This is why I love where I come from. You know, it's all because of those reasons. If I could change those things so easily like I could with surgery, imagine the damage that can do to me mentally, and how I view myself, and let alone view others. I will view others through that insecurity. I will view the world through my own insecurity. I don't want to head there. So that is my reason for not jumping into surgeries, and I'm glad that I didn't when I did want it at my most in my late teens and early 20s. Someone asked, will any of your products be available in South Africa? So at the moment, we just launched not long ago. So in the future, yes, we want an international retailer. We want to make it available everywhere. But at the moment, with it being new, we have to select where to launch first, see how that goes, and then start making decisions as it goes along. So we started off with ULTA. ULTA is only available in the US. So as of right now, for this year, as we're gaining recognition and it's still very new, we are only able to have it in ULTA at this moment. But as it does well, as it continues to sell, we will be able to distribute it in other places around the world. Have you lost brands or even friends because of your lifestyle choices? I believe so, but not in a way where it's been like a downer. For example, let's go with the friends one first. There's been a lot of people from my school years when I was younger, high school and elementary school and whatever, that were friends of mine at the time, but we grow up, we create certain lives, and not everyone stays. In my case, only one person truly stayed actively in my life, and that is a best friend of mine that I have been friends with all through my evolution as a woman, growing up, becoming mature, becoming an adult, getting married, having children. I'm grateful for that friend. There has been times that I wish I had more friends, but I'm not there anymore. And then the second part is, have I lost brands or friendships due to my change of lifestyle? No brand has been open with me and told me I don't want to choose you because of it. No, that has never happened. It's actually the opposite. A lot of brands lose me because of my lifestyle. Brands that don't appeal to me, that don't align with my values and morals, will get declined by me, not the other way around. I have never had a brand work with me and then all of a sudden decide not to work with me because of my lifestyle, because the whole reason they reached out to me in the first place is because of my lifestyle. If a brand is going to reach out to me and work with me, it's because they care. Most of the time, it's because they care for my natural presence, my value of clean beauty and clean ingredients, whatever the case may be. But I would get like offers that don't make sense for me. Oftentimes, I just recently got an offer to do something with, can I say that? I don't know if I can say that, but I declined it just because it doesn't make sense for me. So when it comes to brands, no. When it comes to friendships, naturally we just grow apart, but none of my friends have ever been like mad at me for it. And my best friend actually is naturally just came on the journey herself, not at the same level as I did, because I have a family and children. So she did it just because it made sense to care about it. It made sense to make some type of changes, and she cares about health as well. We do it at 2 different levels, but she does it her way and I do it my way. This video has been too long already. I will end it with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will link everything I used down below. As much as YouTube has changed, thank you for still coming on here and connecting with me and commenting and showing me love. I'm so grateful for all of you. Bye, sunshines.